Am I the butthole for having my sister and her kids evicted from my mom's house? The butthole in hopes this remains anonymous. This situation happened a few months ago, but the holidays brought it up again. I hope I'm not the butthole, but my judgment towards my sister is biased. Back in 2020, my mom lost her job and I, 34 female, moved back in with her to pay the bills. I figure she earned it. My work hours are weird, as I work with people overseas from the US, and I work from home, from my computer, generally from the afternoon to about midnight. At the beginning of this year, my sister's, 38 female, rent was jacked up, and she couldn't afford her place anymore. She asked to move back into our mom's home so her two kids, 9M and 7F, could have space. To keep it short, I don't get along with my sister. But I love my niece and nephew and agreed they could move in with 3 stipulations. 1. Don't touch my food, which I labeled. 2. No one touches the room I made my office. 3. As I sleep late, no noise before 10 in the morning. My sister agreed to these, but it didn't take long before she started pushing. My food started disappearing. She was complaining about me getting 2 rooms when her kids had to share. And she would not stop making noise in the morning, saying they're just kids. When I'd yell at them to keep it down. It culminated when I was woken up at 8:30 by the kids screeching outside my door, after I didn't get to sleep until 3 because, again, I was working. She told me to get a real job and join the real world, and we had a huge fight. I couldn't do it. I told my mom they had to leave. She reluctantly agreed. My sister apparently didn't realize I was paying the bills, and argued with me a lot. She didn't think it was serious until she was basically thrown out, and had to move in with our dad, who only has a 2-bedroom apartment. She's still pissed, and started a fight about it over the holiday. Some of my aunts and uncles said I should have been more tolerant since now she and 2 kids are sharing 1 room in dad's apartment, but I'm pissed that I'm paying most of the bills and I wasn't allowed to keep my chips and soda to myself. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. She agreed to the rules. When she started breaking the rules, she didn't apologize or want to try negotiating new ones. She just made excuses and insulted you. WTF is up with people who think remote work isn't a real job? Maybe she should get a better job herself if she can't afford to rent her own place. You're even paying the bills where you live at your mother's home. And no, again, you paid the bills and bought your own crap. They could have bought theirs. Not the butthole. Am I the butthole for getting excited over a gift my daughter got me? My girlfriend of 4 years is mad at me because of how I reacted to a gift from my teenage daughter. For context, I've come to not expect receiving gifts. My daughter usually doesn't get me anything and my GF just kinda asks me what I want and says here you go. This year, my daughter got me a gift. It's nothing huge, I'm just a huge comic book nerd and she got me a little statue of a character I like. I was genuinely surprised. I was excited and apparently acted way too happy in front of my GF. I guess that's where I went wrong. She immediately clammed up and went to the room. I went to talk to her and she told me about how I'm such an butthole that doesn't appreciate anything she does for me. She starts going through everything she's gotten me over the years and saying how I never got that excited over anything from her. I tried apologizing. I told her I wasn't trying to upset her. She didn't care. Now we're on day 2 of her not talking to me. We just got into another argument because I didn't fix what I did wrong. TLDR, my daughter got me a Christmas gift, I got excited over it in front of my GF, now she won't talk to me. Not the butthole. Your GF being jealous of your daughter is her problem, you did nothing wrong. Duh. OP, your GF is throwing red flags at you. Red flag 1, jealous of your daughter. 2, gives you the cold shoulder instead of communicating like an adult. 3, expects you to fix a problem that isn't a problem. 4, passive aggressive. It's not normal/healthy to punish you in this manner over a non-issue that could have taken 10 minutes to maturely discuss and work through. Am I the butthole, asking my sister, bridesmaid, to shave armpits just for wedding? I, 24 female, will be getting married next year. My partner and I will each be having 3 people in our wedding party. I gave the bridesmaids a color, pink, and asked them to choose a dress that they liked and felt comfortable in. I am providing hair and makeup services for them at the wedding if they choose to use them. I have read lots of stories of bridezillas trying to control every little aspect of their day and make it perfect. I also understand that another person's body hair is their choice. My sister has armpit hair that pushes out from under her arms when they are at her side. She has chosen a dress that will not cover this. I and the rest of my family and my fiancé's family do not find body hair on women attractive. Again, I realize this is not our choice to make her shave it. I have had family members tell me they do not like how it looks. But I am trying to express that we would really like her to shave just for this one day and these photos that I am spending thousands of dollars on. I think the Photoshop it out solution isn't going to work for us as it would cost me additional hundreds of dollars. I have not said a word contrary to her about the hair for a long time. I am trying to decide if and how I should present this to her. If she says she won't, I still will have her in the wedding party, not going to throw her out over something small like this. Am I the butthole for asking her to shave for one important day? No buttholes here because she's obviously not in the wrong and you seem like you're being thoughtful and giving this request the consideration it's due. I think it's fair if you politely raise the matter, so long as you are willing to back down quickly since it is such a personal request. If you're not willing to do that, you will be the butthole. For the record, I only say this would be a reasonable thing to gently bring up because this is something she could quickly rectify with a 5-minute trim. She wouldn't need to shave, only trim to whatever length is both comfortable and suitable. It's not like you're asking her to color her hair, head or otherwise. If you do approach her about it, you should be clear that you will absolutely not change her place in the wedding regardless. All of that said, I don't think I would make this request. If she's in your wedding party, you can accept her as is without it putting a damper on your evening or photos. And if it really was somehow that much of a bother, I'd rather just pay for the editing. Buy her a jacket, wrap, or something to cover. She doesn't need to wear it all the time, just for photos. Wow, thank you for the awards. It just seemed like a reasonable win-win for everyone. Can't believe so many awards. Thank you. Am I the butthole for acting like I didn't know my mother and embarrassing her? On Christmas Eve me, 18 female, and my mom, 40 female, went out with the rest of our family. We're shopping in one store while everyone else was in the other. This was my first I saw my family after going to college, intentionally, because they are very unpleasant people and I only came back because I didn't want a crazy heater bill. College is in a cold place. I'm the closest to my mom, and after just one evening of trying out clothes I was so done. She's always criticizing my body, clothes, skin, my food, and all of them seem to think making me miserable about something will make me change it. The whole evening was her saying dresses didn't fit my body type and I was fat, and I admit I'm on the plumper side, but seeing how real people my age dress at college, not just mannequins and models, has made me feel a lot better about cute clothes. It was pretty warm that evening and I didn't want to feel suffocated with how crowded everywhere was, so I picked a full-sleeve red dress that came up to my knees. It kept riding up and she pointed it out when I got out of the car. I pulled it down then. But later at the store, she kept saying it again and again, and I looked, it was up an inch. I ignored her and she yanked my dress down. I never felt more disrespected. The people out in barely their underwear had more dignity in that moment. So I started yelling at her like, excuse me? Did you just touch me? What makes you think you can do that? Security. Pretty sure mall security didn't hear, but everyone was staring and she scurried away quick. Later when we regrouped, she announced it and said I could dress like a prostitute in college but not in front of her eyes, and everyone said I should apologize to her to be a part of the family. Took a bus to my BF 19 male, of 4 years. He thinks I was mean-intentioned. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. Totally right to set boundaries. Sounds like you did have other contributing factors, but nothing you ultimately did was wrong. Definitely not the butthole. She did STH she probably knew was embarrassing for you but still did it, so you took the Uno reverse card and showed her. Am I the butthole for taking my GF to Christmas dinner after her hamster died? My girlfriend, 22 female, and I, 25 male, have been together for almost 6 months now. As she lives across the country from her parents and couldn't do the travel this year, she was invited to come to my family Christmas instead. She has met my parents, but it was her first time meeting most of my extended family. A couple of days before Christmas, we woke up to find her pet hamster had died in the night. She was really upset about it. It was a year-old, which I think is a pretty normal life for a hamster. She cried and didn't feel like doing anything for the whole day, which was fine. We even had a little funeral for it and buried it in our backyard. Come Christmas morning, my GF is still sad, doesn't want to wake up and have breakfast together or open presents. She said she couldn't enjoy it as she'd bought presents for her hamster and it was making her too sad. I told her I could take her to the store and she could pick out a new hamster as a present to cheer her up. She got extremely upset at this suggestion and started bawling, telling me I was being heartless. It wasn't something she could just replace. I started to get pissed off because at this point it had been 2 full days of this, and it felt a little bit performative. I left her alone so I could cool off. At about 1, I went back to check on her, and she was just laying in bed on her phone. I told her she needed to start getting ready as we had to leave the house by 2 for Christmas dinner. I saw she was watching hamster TikToks, and I told her this was only making her more upset and she needed to get up right now or she was going to make us late and embarrass us. She started shouting at me and said she wasn't coming to Christmas, that I shouldn't expect her to come when her pet had just died, that I was being emotionally unavailable. I said my whole family was expecting to meet her, they'd bought gifts for her. She said they'd all understand that she was just too upset to deal with everything. She claimed she would make a bad impression if she came because she was too miserable. I told her she was being utterly ridiculous. I know she's sad, but my family aren't going to take a hamster dying as a serious reason to miss the biggest holiday of year. I said she needed to get ready to go and there would be no further discussion. She ended up coming, but we were late. I thought everything went fine. Afterwards, my mother sent me a message saying my girlfriend didn't seem herself, and asking was everything alright. My girlfriend saw the message and lost it at me again, saying this was exactly what she was worried about and now my whole family would hate her. I really am at a loss for what to do at this point. It's been a couple of days now and the fight is not resolved. I really don't think I was in the wrong, but she is extremely hurt and says I'm being a psychopath. TLDR, I took my GF to Christmas dinner with my family after her hamster died the other day. Now she's crafty with me and calling me a psycho. You got mad enough at your GF not wanting to replace her pet the next day that you had to leave and cool off? Geez dude. I'm going to go with you're the butthole even if I think this is why hamsters make kind of bad pets in general. You're the butthole. You might not think a dead hamster is the end of the world. But your girlfriend really loved the rodent, and needed more time to come to terms with his passing. This issue wasn't really about the hamster. It was about a young lady who was not in the proper mindset to be meeting the boyfriend's family, but you made her go anyway. You can think she was overreacting, but that does not matter. She shouldn't have been made to leave home until she felt ready to leave home. You're the butthole. Losing a pet is very similar losing a friend. Imagine if one of your best friends died and she told you to get over 2 days after. If it had been over a week and she refused to leave the house over a pet dying, you might be in the right, by 2 weeks completely right, but 2 days? Heck, I randomly cried for a month when my favorite chicken died. You should have at least told your family prior she just lost a pet. You seem to completely lack any sympathy here. She's completely right. Anyone who disagrees has clearly never lost a pet. On another note, hamsters are the worst pets possible. Every time I hear about one, it's about them either dying tragically or being the actual devil. Kinda funny from an outside perspective. Am I the butthole for telling my cousin to frick off for trying to tell my brother I'm not his dad? I, 26 male, have been raising my brother, 7 male, since he was a baby. Our parents died in an accident not long after he was born. No one in my family wanted to take him in other than one set of grandparents, but were too old to look after a newborn. I wanted to take him in anyway, so I wasn't upset that no one was fighting me on it. The other day my grandparents came up to visit. With them they had my cousin, 20 female. I honestly don't like this cousin since she starts drama and seems to thrive on it, but I thought she could keep her mouth shut for an hour while our grandparents visit, so wasn't bothered by it. That was until I caught her telling my brother that I wasn't his dad. I knew then she was trying to start drama. My brother calls me dad and I call him my son, so from the outside people probably assume he has no clue I'm not his dad, but that's not the case. He has always known that I am biologically his brother and that mom and dad had an accident, so I became second dad. He has known this all through his childhood. I told my cousin to frick off out of my house, out of reach of my brother of course. She tried to do some sort of gotcha and say, what, afraid your brother will find out you aren't daddy? Why are you angry at me telling him the truth? I didn't say a word and just threw her out. Now I'm getting calls berating me for swearing at her and embarrassing her in front of our grandparents, since apparently they chewed her out for it and told her that my brother knows and that she caused a fuss over nothing. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. This one pissed me off personally. My cousin came to live with us when she was 3, so she calls who is technically her aunt mom like the rest of us. She knows our mom isn't her biological mother, and she also knows that does not matter. Embarrassing her in front of our grandparents. She embarrassed herself with her frankly cruel behavior. OP, here is what you should say to your cousin and her flying monkeys. He knows I am not his dad. In what world does it make sense to remind a 7-year-old that his parents are dead? That he will never know them? That he wasn't wanted by any other member of his family except his older brother? And at Christmas time to boot? Are you truly that cruel? Then hang up, shut the door, walk away, do not engage further. Rinse and repeat as many times as it takes to get that message through their thick, unfeeling skulls. Yes, your choice of words, it could be argued, was unnecessary. However, I feel perfectly sum up the surprised outrage you must have feel at her sheer audacity, not to mention her doubling down, that would have warranted me grabbing her by the collar and forcibly removing her, if I had been there. You have nothing to feel bad about. You are not the butthole. You taking in your little brother like that when you were no more than a child yourself brings tears to my eyes. Your parents raised you well. Good luck with little bro and update us how this pans out. I don't normally advocate violence, but I am thinking some of your relatives deserve a good poke in the nose here. Obvious not the butthole. She was clearly trying to start crap. Am I the butthole for telling my friend how much another friend, his girlfriend, makes when she refuses to help him financially? I have a friend, Claire, and my husband has a friend, Tim. We're all in out late 20s/early 30s. Claire and Tim met at my wedding and they hit it off and have been seeing together for a few months now. They've moved in together quickly because Tim had to move out of his house because his landlord was selling and he asked Claire if he could move in. She's in love, so obviously said yes. The thing about it, Claire, is that over lockdowns, she was laid off and started her own business which blew up and continued to grow. I know for a fact that she makes a lot of money. We're talking well into 6 digits of what she's bringing home, which is quite high in the UK, way more than most people earn. Anyway, Tim was over the other day and he started complaining how he's short of cash and can't help with bills again this month. He's got a teeny gambling problem that he's working on, but Claire doesn't know because he's handling it. But Claire doesn't want to pay 100% anymore because it's the third time. She doesn't live in a luxury house, their bills are not high. I told him that I love her to bits, but she's being a penny-pinching jerk because she can afford to help out and not even notice it. Tim asked what I meant and I told him that she had a successful business. He was shocked because she downplayed her success a lot, and don't tell him that she's basically rich. He was really sad and went home. In the morning, Claire called me and told me she'll never share anything with me ever again. That I had no right to tell Tim how much she makes and that it's really a hit how I conveniently forgot to tell her about his gambling problem. No idea how she found out, Tim didn't tell her. She's fuming with me. I spoke with Tim and they had an argument about bills again, and he basically told her about our conversation and told her she's heartless. She kicked him out and he's now staying on our couch. I do feel bad. He still would have a place to live if I hadn't told him, and I feel like an butthole. But then again, he had a right to know. I'm conflicted. Am I the butthole? You're the butthole. He had zero right to know what she earns. It wasn't your place to butt in. It's her money and she's already let him move in after a few months. But she did have a right to know about his teensy addiction, which is a lot more of an issue than him having to pay his own way. Weird that you're happier to hide a negative monetary problem than her salary. You're a terrible friend to Claire. You're the butthole. This is none of your business. He's keeping his gambling addiction from her. And you insulted her immediately. You both suck, but she doesn't. She's not obligated to help him out financially, and considering that he's dishonest as frick, it's good that she doesn't. Am I the butthole for getting my friend fired after she said horrible things about me? My 28 female, so-called friend, 29 female, and I had a fight a few weeks ago when I found out that she said horrible things about me to another friend. The thing is, I had a terrible father who abandoned me when I was a baby, and I'm not gonna try to deny it. That affected me a lot. I only had 2 relationships and both were with people old enough to be my father, and I know that has to do with my past because I go to therapy for it. But that doesn't mean that I don't love my husband, 55 male, or that we have a horrible relationship, and that's what, apparently, my friend never understood, and that's why she said those things. She told another friend that we have in common that my husband disgusts her because he is too affectionate with me and she doesn't like that. That she believes that I cheated on him and that our baby and the one I am expecting are not his but another man's because he is too old to make babies. That the times I talked about how good he is in bed, I lied because it's not possible for someone his age to be good at that. That I shouldn't have been a mother because I'm fricked in the head thanks to my father, and that hurt me because she knows how hard I tried to get pregnant and how much I love and protect my baby, and although that hurt, nothing hurt me more than knowing that she was using me all this time. She also told our friend that the only thing she likes about being my friend is that my husband has contacts and that makes everything easier for all my friends and family. She said that because thanks to my husband she and her husband have new jobs, and that pissed me off so much that the first thing I did was tell my husband and ask him to tell his brother to fire her and her husband. He talked to his brother and he's going to fire them, and that made me feel better because I think it's what she deserved, but my mom thinks I was too harsh. That I should have given her another chance because maybe she just had a bad day when she said all that, but I don't think so. Am I the butthole for that? Not the butthole. She says she only tolerates you for the perks she gets. Well, she won't have to be friends with you anymore, but no perks either. Sounds like a horrible friend. Not the butthole. She isn't a friend, she's a toxic abuser. She got what she deserved. She did this to herself. I hope she learned her lesson. Am I the butthole for refusing to punish my kids for my ex? Throwaway account because my kids use Reddit. For context, I, 44 male, divorced my ex, 39 male, 3 years ago after I found out she was having an affair. It was a long and messy divorce, especially since she refused to leave our marriage and kept begging for a second chance. In the end she gave up, but she insisted not to tell the kids about the affair as she didn't want them hating or refusing to spend time with her. She is a great mother, so I agreed. I told the kids that me and her had disagreements that couldn't be solved, and for everyone's best interest, us being apart would be for the best. We also share joint custody. However, a few months ago my oldest kid, 17 female, ended up discovering the real reason why we divorced. I don't know how, She refuses to tell me, but I'm sure it's all because my ex recently announced that she's engaged to Jim, her affair partner. My kids hated him from before, but after my kid revealed the information to her twin and her young brother, they loathe him and my ex. They've become extremely rude and avoidant towards them, and are now refusing to spend any sort of time with them. With the holiday season approaching, merry belated Christmas, my ex decided to ask me to intervene. She told me that she wanted me to sit down with the kids with her, and to explain that it was never an affair, but basically that we disagreed about our marriage. She kept insisting that the kids are becoming more hateful every day, and tearfully said that they're blaming her for ending our marriage and their relationship with her. I didn't say anything, merely said that they were speaking the truth and deserved to feel however way they needed to feel about this. We got into a massive argument, and she ended up storming off saying she won't be celebrating Christmas with ungrateful brats who hate her. She insinuated that I'd do the same, but I refused. We spend each Christmas together for the kids, but this time she was a no-show. So on Christmas Eve and day they came over to my place and we had a fun family gathering. They opened their presents and overall we had a great time. In the morning I posted several pictures of us together saying how great Christmas is with family, which my ex saw. I still have her on Facebook because sometimes she texts me stuff related to kids. She was screaming saying I made her look like the bad guy now because everyone will notice she isn't with me in the picture, and how she didn't buy them any gifts. She asked that I take away the presents until they apologize for being cruel to their mother and to apologize to her affair partner, or at least to withhold them until she buys them some. I refused and told her she's dealing with consequences of her own making, and since Christmas she's been posting vague posts about how horrible her old family is and how cruel love can be. Am I the butthole for refusing to punish my kids or sit down with them to justify my ex's cheating? Not the butthole. Your ex-wife sounds like a narcissist, to be honest, and if the kids want nothing to do with her, that's their prerogative. It's up to her to fix her relationship with them, not you. She was screaming saying I made her look like the bad guy. This is like a bank robber calling into the paper, saying their reporting of the crime makes the robber look like a criminal. She's really indignant over the fact that people have the audacity to point out what she literally did? Not the butthole, and your ex sounds like a classic narcissist. She can't understand how something could be wrong if she's the one who did it. Wrong things are what other people do. Not the butthole. Your ex is unhinged. Your kids should be allowed to have a decent holiday with their parent. She's the one who made herself look like an off for not showing up or getting them gifts. She's reaping her consequences from her crappy choices, and that doesn't reflect on you whatsoever. Punishing your children for finding out about her affair and reacting to it would be insane. She's just filled with guilt and shame and is trying to place that on you. Not the butthole. The first time, it wasn't about actively lying to your children but concealing the truth of her affair because they didn't need to know. Now they know. And she wants you to sit with her and lie to their faces about why your marriage ended. And not for them. For her. Her response to you declining is to spend no time with her children on Christmas Day? She clearly thinks she's the main character in this movie. How long before she realizes she's the villain? Not the butthole NTA, not the butthole. Am I the butthole for not committing to caring for my autistic sibling when my mother passes? I'll try to keep this brief. My brother has autism, and my mother wants me to be fully responsible for him when she passes. She was diagnosed with cancer and chemo isn't working, so here's hoping it's not soon, but you know. Here's the background. My brother is low-functioning autistic, no hopes of holding a job or living on their own. He's 22 but is essentially 8 years old in all prospects of mental development, maybe even younger. My brother attends a school for those with autism. It's essentially an autism, mental disability live-in school that he lives in. Anyways, he lives there, so what's the problem, you might ask? Well, he comes home once a month. For roughly 5 days. My mother wants me to continue this schedule after she passes, and that's my issue. I have no qualms or issues with being the guardian in charge, making decisions, and aiding him in those manners. My mother wants me to consistently keep this schedule as it's been set for the last decade, and those with autism are extremely sensitive to routines. I understand that. I do. But this essentially means I could never move, take a lengthy vacation, and even if I'm sick I should be expected to still carry through with it. This also gets more complicated when you consider things like if I were to ever have kids. Even if I find a job opportunity across the country, she would expect me to either not move or make the flight every month to bring him acknowledgement. I will also add I have my own mental issues. Though ones I've worked on extensively. My mother has also made it clear I will only be receiving life insurance money if I were to take care of him in the past, which, you know, cool, but it's whatever. My issue is that once she passes, him to be expected to essentially fill the mother role in ways I'm not sure I'm capable of, and if I'm being honest, not sure I want to. I genuinely have a life ahead of me and my own dreams, and to say this would break that all would be fitting. Again, I have no issues taking the role on paper and making choices, and of course I have no problem bringing him for holidays and such. The idea if every month though is genuinely pretty much taking my life and autonomy away from me. And when I bring this up I'm immediately shut down and my mom will say how he's going to be alone and have nobody and I'm the only one he can rely on. I try to stress that I will do my best but that I will need to put my own life and needs first. Even bringing up the what ifs makes her cancel out the conversation and proceed to call me unreliable and demonize me. I try to stress I'll do my best, but that's not enough for my mom who wants reassurance. I will dedicate my life to my autistic brother and basically put him above all else as the deciding factor of how I should make life choices like jobs and such. So, am I the butthole for pushing back and blatantly saying I can't promise it? I have a son like your brother and I have told my adult children I don't expect them to take care of him, I just expect them to make sure he's taken care of by someone. Here's a clue that others may not like but I strongly suggest you do: lie. Tell your mother you will do everything she wants after she's gone. When she's gone, do what you need to do for you and make sure your bother is taken care of by someone else. Pass guardianship to the state if you need to. Your mother is going to be dead. She won't know anything about what you do, but the stress from worrying you won't be there or finding the non-existent perfect replacement won't be healthy while she is alive. Not the butthole. Let's face it, when your mom dies your brother's routine is out the window anyway, as his routine is to be with her. That and you both will be grieving. Being a hands-on carer is a lot and you have your own life to live. Don't commit to this. Not the butthole. You're allowed to set boundaries and put your own life first. This request is a huge demand and no one should try to force you into it. Also, it's only fair to be honest and make it clear that you probably won't keep up with it. There are other options for your brother which can and should be considered as soon as possible. Not the butthole. All your feelings are valid ones. However, I will say this. You could agree to take care of your brother, knowing that this stress is likely hurting your dying mother more than her own immortality at the moment. Would it really hurt to say yes you will do this? Maybe do it for a few months and then make alternate arrangements that fit your decided on boundaries. Perhaps focus on the here and now. Your mom needs to hear that your brother will be taken care of and you are willing to ensure that your brother is taken care of. That's the bottom line and what matters. The way you choose to take care of your brother only matters when you are actually tasked with that responsibility. She doesn't need the added stress of knowing the intricate details of how you will change his care based on your boundaries in that moment, because the reality is that you can't even define that in this moment. Simply put, it's impossible to map out the future right now, so I'd go with a resolution in this moment that creates the least amount of stress all around in this moment. You don't even have to stress out because you don't know what the future will hold and you are allowed to change the course of your actions as life comes at you. You can't make arrangements right now for the rest of your life. That would be silly. You could take it one day at a time, understanding what your mother's desire is and understanding that your mother has worries beyond your ability to understand right now, because she is dying. Any added stress is unnecessary and it could help her if you listen to her wishes, write them down, take them into account and then decide how you will act when the time comes. She also likely wants to be included in that future, and she's likely struggling to cope with the reality that she won't be in both of your futures. If I were in your shoes I would listen to her, write down her wishes, hear her worries, calm them and let her know that you will do your very best. Try it out for a few months and then decide if it was something I could keep up with or not. If not, then I would adjust my life to fit my own bandwidth in that moment, not this one. Am I the butthole for refusing to spend family time at my in-laws anymore? I, 30 female, have told my partner, 34 male, that I don't want to go up to his parents for family dinners or whatever anymore because every single time we do, I get dumped with all the children. I don't drink or smoke cigarettes while every other adult there does, so as soon as we walk in the door, all adults, my partner included, just dumps me with all the kids and leaves to go drink or smoke and don't come back until hours later, sometimes right up until I tell my partner, my kids and I are leaving, you're either coming or staying. I go so as not to be rude. This time it's different because it's the holidays and we have family visiting, but I've even been dumped with all the visiting children too, so I'm so over it. Third day in a row and we stay there until well late, 10 p.m. sometimes. I asked my partner if he could take me home and he got crafty, saying I was ruining everything and everybody could sense my negative vibes. I asked him how, since not a single adult has stepped foot inside, to even check on their kids, since we got there this morning at 9 a.m., it's now 3 p.m. Yesterday my partner, his 3 brothers and their girlfriends all just disappeared and came home 5 hours later and had been out on a lunch and shopping spree while I stayed home with all the children. Today they all went off to the arcade for a couple of hours, without me even knowing, and left me there with all the children, again. When I brought this up to my partner he got angry at me saying, why don't you like sharing me with my siblings? I only get to see my brother once, maybe twice a year, why do you have to make this all about yourself? I said that's not even it. The fact of the matter is that I love all the kids, but I'm not just a babysitter. Why am I always just dumped with the kids? If all the other girlfriends can go, why can't I be invited sometimes? Why should I always be left out of everything and just expected to be okay with it? I'm now home, alone, even though he tried to make me bring our kids home with me. I just think he needs to start being a parent too. Just cause there is family gatherings doesn't mean his father responsibilities stop. Cleaning my house, cause it keeps me calm but wondering if he was right, and I actually am the butthole for it? Edited, to correct his age from 24 to 34. Not the butthole, but you should dump your boyfriend. Wow. Not the butthole. You are not your partner's extended family shared babysitter. Your partner is the butthole for not sticking up for you, and his family is totally taking advantage of you. You are not the butthole. Not the butthole, and it's okay to find a more respectful partner/relationship. Not the butthole, his whole family are treating you poorly. Don't let him play the victim on this or try make you feel guilty. They're meant to be your holidays too. He shouldn't invite you if you're not welcome to celebrate. You're not a doormat. I think it's a great idea to simply refuse to go. They can hire a babysitter instead. Your boyfriend can still take your own kids if he wants to. You're just opting out of unpaid work over the holidays. Am I the butthole for telling my brother's boyfriend that he's a cowardly poss and not telling my brother that he stopped by? My 19 male, baby brother Martin, 15 male, is an openly gay wrestler. He has a BF Drake, 16 male, who is still closeted. They were originally supposed to come out together last year, but while Martin did, Drake chickened out. Now I get it, we live in a not too big town in Mississippi, his home life isn't the greatest or most progressive to put it mildly, and he wants to be a pro wrestler. Martin understood that too, and he's never made any attempt to push Drake to come out, even though I know he hates being a secret. The main problem is that when their teammates make homophobic remarks or jokes, especially at Martin's expense after he came out, Drake joins in. When their teammates started distancing themselves from Martin, Drake joined in. When people tried to bully Martin, Drake joined in while also sneaking around with Martin, hanging out at our house, secretly dating the boy he acts like he can't be too friendly with around their teammates. Me and our brother Zach, 17 male, have wanted to do something about it, but Martin begged us not to and to just let him deal with it. He'd usually just laugh it off or make light of it, even though we could tell it hurt him a lot. Last Friday Martin came home way more upset than I'd ever seen him, crying and upset. He wouldn't talk to me or our parents and just stayed in his room all weekend. Zach told us what happened, that apparently Martin and Drake's teammates were pestering Drake about how he used to be so close to the gay kid. Drake decided to tell them that they stopped being friends when he found out the F at G at T had a crush on him and tried to hit on him. He also started revealing a bunch of embarrassing secrets about Martin, like how he wet the bed till he was 12. That obviously got back around to Martin and the crap storm ensued. Drake tried to stop by Monday to apologize and got me at the door. Martin was upstairs in his room, so I know he couldn't hear me, and I just got so pissed that I snapped at Drake. I told Drake that he was a cowardly poss. That he didn't have to come out, but he didn't get to treat my brother like crap, and if that's the way he'd act, that he should just leave my brother alone. I told him to never come over or try to talk to Martin again. He looked really sad, just said he was sorry and left. Martin was upset all week because he hadn't heard anything from Drake. Martin apparently went over to Drake's house Friday and found out what I said. He came home upset about what I did and that I had no right. I countered that Drake treats him like crap and that he shouldn't have to deal with that. He yelled at me that I don't really know how bad Drake has I at home and I should have just butted out. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. Although I understand how your brother feels and that he's upset you said something, the kid needed to be put in his place. He doesn't need to come out. He can do that on his own terms and when he's ready. But just because he's closeted gives him no right to bully your brother like that. Not the butthole. Hopefully your brother understands how you were helping him one day. In the meantime, I think you should try to help your brother find a group of LGBT people. See if there is any drag shows in the city that are for all ages, or groups for LGBT kids. It's important for him to experience people being out and proud and happy. Not the butthole. I hate mob mentality so much, I'm assuming that maybe Drake's family might be homophobic as well. So he tried to stay out of the crosshair, but this caused his boyfriend, your brother, to get caught in the middle. I've seen so many times where a kid from an abusive family will often take the side of the bullies because they are afraid of what's happening to that kid happening to them. Drake is a coward, and he shouldn't have said the things he did. If he really wanted to apologize to your brother, he should come out to all of them. Am I the butthole for asking just my mom to walk me down the aisle and do a dance at my wedding? My dad died when my mom was 9 months pregnant with me. He was diagnosed with cancer early in her pregnancy with me and passed away days before I was born. My mom had my older brother who was 1 at the time, and then she had me days after losing her husband. It was a lot, but she was always an amazing mom and she made sure we knew our dad loved us. She shared videos of him, as well as videos he made for my brother and me. Dad named me. He wrote a letter explaining why he chose my name. He left so much behind for me and my brother, and mom spent 10 years just raising us and focusing on keeping dad part of our lives. When I was 10, she started to date again and met her husband. She married him pretty quickly, 7 months after knowing him. But he was nice, so it was fine. The relationship with my mom's husband has always been kind of weird. I think he thought we'd see him as our dad and equal parent to our mom. But that's not how we felt about him. To us, mom was our hero and there's no one close. We also have a place left for our dad, because of how mom raised us, and it's what she and our dad wanted too. Eventually we found a groove with mom's husband and he became family but was never seen as our parent, and we all get along. Mom made sure he was never a true parent in the home, but he was to be respected as an adult, and that's what it was. I'm now in my 20s and engaged to my amazing fiancée. When we got engaged I knew, without even thinking about it, that mom should be walking me down the aisle and that I wanted to do a dance with her because she is the person who raised me to be who I am, and she's the only parent I had in my life, and also because she raised us with our dad's presence in our lives, and made sure he was never forgotten or erased from us. So I spoke to my mom. Told her there was nobody I would want more, and she was so happy and she said yes. But her husband is upset and has been speaking up that he would have liked to do it. That he might not be dad but he has done just as much for me as mom, which pissed mom off and they argued over his choice of words. He said people can have two, so why not have him and mom? Mom asked why a man needed to be there at all. He said because she wouldn't have been asked if dad was still alive. She told him that if dad was still alive they would have raised me together and been equally eligible for the role. He then told me that he has always been good with me, and that he even accepted being seen as family but not a parent, and the least he could do is get a reward for that. He told me I could have both and save hurt feelings, and I'm an adult now so I should behave like one. Am I the butthole for asking just mom and not him? Not the butthole. Tell him he is an adult and should behave like one. You don't always get what you want. No, he is an adult and should behave like one. He's not entitled to a parent role just because he married your mom. Not the butthole. Not the butthole. If he's never been treated as an equal parent, he's likely never had to deal with the difficulties of raising kids the way a full-time parent would. And at the end of the day it's your wedding and you get to celebrate however you'd like. If you're inclined you could pick some other significant role for him, but don't compromise if it doesn't feel right. Am I the butthole for telling my mom it was wrong to remove me and my siblings as insurance beneficiaries after she got remarried? I have 3 sisters. We are all close with my mom and have a good relationship with her. I'm 32 female, married with 3 young children. My second sister, 30 female, is single, and my third, 26 female, is married with no kids, yet. We are all in unconventional, financially unsteady vocations. My mom married my stepfather last year. My mom has life insurance totaling $130,000. She's not the healthiest, so talk about death plans has come up to prepare for the future. She previously named each of us as her insurance beneficiaries: stepfather 25%, me 25%, sister number 1 25%, sister number 2 25%. We've been insurance beneficiaries since we were teenagers and my mom divorced my dad. But now, she suddenly announced that she decided to give 100% of all the insurance benefits to her new husband. I expressed that I was confused about this because she had previously officially designated to each of us a 25% share to help us all after she passes. I reminded her that her husband would receive 100% of her Social Security benefits, thousands of dollars, and 100% of her bank account, which is understandable to me, but to leave all of us out of her life insurance as beneficiaries felt dismissive of us. She said $130K plus doesn't go far in America, and that her husband needs all of that money and more to help him with all of his costs after she dies. She's worried he'll struggle after she dies. I told her even if he gets a larger portion of the life insurance, 40% for him, 20% each for us siblings, it makes more sense than leaving us out completely. She said again, I don't want him to be poor. I said, okay, what about us? You have 3 grandkids. My own monthly earnings is already a struggle as a missionary. Sisters number 1 and number 2 are artists and work on commission, which is up and down depending on if anyone buys their work. We are all on the low income spectrum. Do you not care about helping us at all when you die? She said she never said she doesn't care, but she just wants to give 100% to her husband. She said her mom didn't leave her any money when she died. I told her that grandma actually had no money to give, no life insurance/inheritance, whereas you have $130K plus guaranteed when you die, and you are choosing to leave us with literally 0% while giving your new husband 100%. She said finally that if her husband died, she wouldn't want to be equal to his kids, and therefore receive an equal share with his kids. She expects 100%, therefore she will give him 100%. She accused me of wanting a bunch of money and telling her what to do, so I told her I don't want any of the money and her husband can have it all. I understand her husband comes in first place, but I didn't expect us to come in at 0 place. My sisters are also both upset at hearing the news that we are all left out. Am I the butthole? Edit, we love our mom. I'm not waiting for her to die, I hope she lives until she's 100. If that's how that came off to you, sorry, not the intention. She has continually told us throughout the years that she wants to give us insurance money to help us after she dies. So this was a different direction she suddenly took. It's hard to give a bunch of context on a Reddit post. Edit 2. Thanks for taking the time to respond. Some thoughts and answers to common comments. 1. A lot of comments talked about how it's my mom's choice to choose her beneficiaries. I agree that it is her own choice. I shouldn't have told her it was wrong. I was just confused because her repeated statement to me and my sisters is that she was hoping to give us money after she dies from her insurance to help set our families forward in life. She always said, "I'm sorry I can't help you more now. But when I die, the insurance money will help you guys," type of thing. 2. People buy life insurance to cover funeral costs, but also as a legacy blessing for family members, including adult children. The general comment saying that adults with jobs and families shouldn't be receiving life insurance benefits from their parents is interesting to me. I worked in a hospital for a while and it wasn't unusual for parents to name their adult children as beneficiaries. Patients had wills, trusts, and life insurance beneficiaries of all ages, so the general shock in the comments that I would expect to be a beneficiary as an adult is really odd to me. She made us her beneficiaries when I was 18 years old, with the expectation that we would be adults with families when she died. 3. People keep accusing me of wanting my mom to die to get a payout? Like, no, I don't want my mom to die so I can get money? She's my mom. I love her a lot and we're super close. We text every day and talk every week. Being confused and upset that what was promised to us as a legacy gift since I was a teen because of a new husband 15 years later does not equate wishing someone would die so I can get a hefty payout. 4. Me being a missionary wasn't at all the point of my post, but I'm sorry that some of you were hurt by your experience of the church. I hope you can find healing. 5. I'm not sure what will happen if my mom dies and my stepdad dies. I'm pretty sure his assets will not be given to me or my sisters. He has 2 adult children who he would likely pass the inheritance on to. They are both great, BTW. 6. My mom is not dying. We were simply planning for the future together in health directives as she had a close call last year. She has asked me to take care of all this stuff for her as the eldest daughter. And no, end-of-life healthcare costs are not an issue. She has excellent retiree health insurance and benefits working in the hospital for 35 years. You're the butthole. Her kids are grown and she has a husband she is thinking about. $130,000 spread around won't be a crazy amount to any kid, but for her husband it could be very important. Nobody is owed an inheritance. You're the butthole. You don't live in the household with her. After she is gone, new husband is going to take over 100% of the financial responsibility for her estate, i.e., paying for funeral costs, paying rent or mortgage on their house, paying for bills she previously contributed to, etc. She is not contributing to your household, therefore her death will not put any financial hardship on you. Regardless, it's her money and her decision, and it's not your place to pressure her to give you money, dead or living, because you are an adult. You're the butthole. First of all, this isn't always an option. If you are in the US, then some states won't allow disinheritance of a spouse. They will receive a portion. Second, end-of-life care is costly. Death is expensive. You aren't paying those bills. Her husband will be. And deserves the money. You are adults. If you don't earn enough money, that's entirely on you making that choice of vocation. It doesn't entitle you to inheritance. You are owed nothing. Grandkids are owed nothing. You're the butthole. Nobody told you to have 3 kids as a missionary. I guess you took God will provide to mean count on getting 25% of your mother's life insurance. You and your sisters need to add conventional jobs to your low-income unconventional jobs if you are so worried about money. No one is entitled to an inheritance.